nowadays you got to have that because people nowadays.
Before we get straight into the podcast, I just want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors, Declan Kirby GAA Star. Declan Kirby GAA Star Championship Journey. It's a series of GAA team children's books written by primary school teacher and GAA coach Michael Egan. You can check it out in the link in the description down below, of course, as well. Follow the trials and tribulations of Declan Kirby and his team at Smithgreen Gaelic Football Club, recently formed but promising GAA team. The book is now available in Easons and all good bookshops, so check it out in the description down below, and let's get straight into it. What's the story, everyone? Welcome back to GAA Fan TV. My name is Aaron. I hope you're all keeping wonderfully well. So it's a couple of days after the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship final, after Limericks' demolition over Cork, a 16-point victory, of course, on the day in the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship final. And the dust has settled, a couple of days has passed, and what I thought I would do is have a look at some of the reaction to the game, have a look at some tweets, some social media posts, some Instagram posts from players, journalists, media, and of course fans, see what they've discussed about the game. Now, of course, if you watch my live watch-along stream and you watch my post-match reaction as well, you'll know I'm actually away on holidays at the moment, which is why the podcast, which will be, I'll be reviewing the entirety of the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship with a couple of guests as well, will be out in a couple of weeks' time, or about a week or so, give or take, when I am back. But what I thought I would do instead is just very much have a look at what people have been saying on Twitter, what the reaction has been, what people have been saying on social media, and without further ado, let's get straight into it. If you're new around here, I would appreciate if you could subscribe, leave a like on the channel, let me know down in the comments below what you thought of the video, and share this out to your friends and family. But I suppose first of all, we'll have a look at a tweet from Paul Murphy, former Kilkenny player. He says, congrats to Limerick, incredible team. Don't get too wrapped in how to beat them for the moment, just celebrate them while they're here. Cork will be back. Now, how long before the championship starts again? I suppose first of all, the championship literally feels like it only started about maybe a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago, and it's started, it's finished, it's done, it's settled, and we'll have probably a bit of a wait now until the 2022 All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship. But yeah, I suppose for Paul Murphy there, we can't get too wrapped in saying how we beat this Limerick side or what the blueprint is to beat Limerick, because to be honest with you, there is no blueprint to beat Limerick. If there had been a blueprint, teams would have done so. And I know Kilkenny beat them in 2019, and I've watched that game a couple of times, and I just feel like it was just Kilkenny's sheer intensity on the day, and I feel like it was the one game in the championship where Limerick had an off day. And I also think as well that in 2018 and 2019, Limerick weren't the real deal in those years. Like, you think back to 2018, they obviously came through the round robin. I think they finished third in their group, but lost a couple of games in the Munster Championship. Didn't win Munster that year. A couple of times they were nearly beaten by Kilkenny and then by Cork. Galway nearly turned it around late on against them. 2019, they lost to Cork in a round robin game. So I think like Limerick have just improved, and it just so happens to be that they were still good enough in 2018 to win the All-Ireland, and 2019 to go and win a Munster Championship. In 2020 and 2021, it feels like they've even kicked on another gear, bringing in more players into the side. Garry Hegerty stepped up massively. Jamie Flanagan's come in, he's been brilliant. William O'Donoghue as well. A lot of the players who would have been a part of Limerick's 2017 under-20 All-Ireland success have matured. They've got better, they've improved. I don't think there's a blueprint to beat Limerick right now, and to be honest with you, it's going to be very hard to see when that blueprint emerges. Brian Barry says, similar to Waterford in 2008, Cork ran into one of the great teams at their peak. Yeah, obviously Waterford got absolutely annihilated, of course, in the 2008 All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship final by Kilkenny, a team in which Davy Fitz was managing of back in 2008, and this was just very similar. And Kieran Kingston said, after the game, we'll actually get a tweet, well, not a tweet, but just a quote, a very interesting quote I found from Kieran Kingston straight after the game. He said, from our perspective, it was like trying to stop the tide with a bucket. Not a lot you could do, no matter what you tried, go short or go long. I think they were just at another level to Cork today. We've got to be honest and say that. And you know what, to be fair to him, you've got to appreciate the honesty from Kieran Kingston there. Like, obviously a 16-point loss, there's no getting away from that. And I think a county like Cork shouldn't be losing by 16 points in All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship finals, but at the same time, this Limerick team was just absolutely unbelievable. I mean, to score 3-18 in the first half, it was just absolutely incredible. You know, I don't think they scored a free. I think the first 2-12 of their entire score tally were all scored from play. And the first free they got, which was from Aaron Glan, was put over the bar. I mean, it's quite incredible stuff from Limerick when you really break down the numbers, and there definitely are some stats here that we'll get into in a moment, but just incredible stuff really from Limerick. Buff Egan says a demolition job by Limerick, 3:28 from play in an All-Ireland final. Good Lord, Cian Lynch by far the best man on the field, a wizard of a hurler. Yeah, I mean, Cian Lynch is unbelievable stuff, and you certainly wouldn't want to be the people to pick hurler of the year, because I think it's changed game on game. But I think Cian Lynch was brilliant against Waterford. He was unbelievable in that game, and I mean, what a hurler, what a player. Just the flicks off the wrist, the stick work, the movement, you know, taking points as well, creating space for opposing forwards. I mean, he's just an unbelievable player. He covers so much ground, never seems to get tired. You know, he's the engine, the heartbeat of that Limerick side. I mean, multiple heartbeats, I suppose, and multiple engines in that Limerick team. But Cian Lynch in particular, absolutely tremendous player. And he for me, you know, I will release a hurling team of the season and hurling player of the year and that as well. But I think for Cian Lynch, you'd have to look at him as hurler of the year, in my opinion. This was a tweet here from Johnny McGee, who of course was on the podcast before. He says, "Isn't it gas if a Dublin player and have done what Cian Lynch just did there? There would be uproar all over the place. Cork player could have easily broke his neck." Yeah, I mean, obviously that was in relation to the late Cian Lynch challenge. I think it was late on in the second half where he sort of grabbed one of the Cork players and sort of pulled him over his shoulder. Definitely, I mean, having a look back, and I'm just having a look at it here, I mean, it is an interesting one because it kind of looks like they both tangled together. But it does look like Cian Lynch has dragged his arm and he's pulled him over his shoulder. I mean, for me, I think that's a red card. I know we love to see physicality in the game and we love to see you know, aggressiveness in hurling, but I do think at the same time it was a reckless challenge, pulling him over his shoulder. You could also say, I know some people were saying in response to that tweet that, you know, the Cork player engaged by putting his arm around Lynch's neck. But I do think at the same time, like he's pulled him over his shoulder. I think it's a yellow card, a red card at best maybe. I don't think there really would have been any complaints, but I think, yeah, I don't think it was a particularly great challenge from Cian Lynch on that occasion. David Connor says, Galway were shocking this year, no doubt, but when you watch Limerick this year and the way they blew absolutely everyone else away, I begin to appreciate the 2020 semi-final showing more and more. They were there with a chance to win it in injury time. No one else has. And that's the thing about Limerick. Like last year, they had a few sort of not disappointing performances, but even in the Galway game in the semi-final, like there was an opportunity there for Galway. In the Munster final against Waterford last year, Limerick kept Waterford at arm's length, but they didn't blow them away. I feel like winning the All-Ireland last year was a bit of a, you know, there was a bit of a mental hump there going into that All-Ireland semi-final after what had happened the previous year against Kilkenny. And I feel like for winning 2 All-Irelands in 3 years, it's kind of taken the pressure off a little bit. You know, they're no longer the team that just won their first All-Ireland in 45 years. They're now a team that's won 2 in 3 years, that's won 2 Munster championships in a row, and that's sort of creating their own era and their own story in many ways. So I think this year they've just been unbelievable. They've just blown teams away. You know, like what I've said in different previews and podcasts, whatever was said at halftime in the Tipperary and Limerick game in the Munster Championship final, since then Limerick just haven't looked back. They've literally played with that same intensity for almost every minute of the rest of their championship season. They faded a little bit at the end of the Cork game, but the game was pretty much won. I mean, they've done what they've needed to do, and there's just been no looking back from there, and it's just been unbelievable stuff. Paddy Andrews, former Dublin senior footballer, he says whatever about the obvious technical brilliance of Limerick, but their athleticism and work rate across the pitch is outrageous, literally blowing teams away. Yeah, I'd have to agree with that as well. I mean, they cover so much ground. They've so many players that can get on the ball. They've so many players that can score. Like what I've been saying before, if one player doesn't turn up, if Garry Hegerty has an off day, if Lynch has an off day, if Aaron Gillane has an off day, well then Tom Morrissey will step up, Shamie Flanagan will step up. I mean, there's just so many players all across the pitch that you could look towards and really, really make a case for, in terms of being hurler of the year. And they just have so many options. And their athleticism, their physicality, the way they move with the ball, the way they pass it, their hand passing as well. I mean, it's breathtaking to watch, and there's not many teams that can do what they do and be so successful at it. So unbelievable stuff, it must be said, from Limerick there. And their athleticism and the way they've worked, like their conditioning is unbelievable as well. Like they look like probably one of the only teams in the country that can do that for 70 plus, that could probably play at that intensity for 70 minutes and beyond if extra time was there. And you know what, I actually think they're the only team that can do that. Not one of a few. I think they're the only team that can do that right now. And I think to beat them, you've got to get up to that level. And it's going to be hard to see how anyone does that in the coming years. Shane Stapleton says 10 Limerick scorers and one of the greatest halves of hurling ever seen in an All-Ireland final. Absolutely incredible stuff. Cork leaking water everywhere. Yeah, I mean, Cork were very poor, obviously, no doubt about it. They had a very bad defensive performance. They just weren't getting tight enough to a lot of the Limerick forwards. I think Niall O'Leary, Robert Downey, Sean O'Donoghue have had great championships so far. I think Cork have been very impressive in that department at getting forward, but they just weren't getting tight enough to the likes of Aaron Gillane and Shamie Flanagan. They were just getting far too much space. They just weren't tracking well enough as well, and leaving too many holes in behind for Limerick to run through. And it was very bad defending altogether. But 10 Limerick scores in one half, I mean, that's extraordinary stuff. I mean, only 4 outfield players there not scoring, which tells you all you need to know. I mean, just incredible stuff really from Limerick. Paul Brennan says it will probably take the Mayo footballers to eventually beat this Limerick hurling team. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously in reference to Mayo beating Dublin around about 2 weeks ago by now. But yeah, I mean, at this rate, Limerick could easily, maybe not easily, but they could very well go on and win 3-4 All-Irelands in a row. I'm going to say this now, it's very hard to see how anyone stops them next year, because I think Galway are going to be rebuilding. I think Tipperary are going to be rebuilding. They've both obviously had a couple of retirements, change in management and Tip. Are Waterford still going to have Liam Cahill? That's a big question there. And we've seen that Limerick have played Waterford 3 times between last year's championship and this year's championship, and I've never really looked close to beating Limerick. So that's a big question mark as well. And Kilkenny, alright, they'll probably be thereabouts under Brian Cody. They always are. Are they the only team that could potentially beat Limerick? Maybe, because they done it back in the 2019 championship. But yeah, I mean, for Limerick, it's gonna take something monumental to potentially stop this run, because I do see them winning the All-Ireland next year and potentially for years to come. And I do think they'll be the dominant force now in hurling. There's absolutely no doubt about it. I think they proved that last year, and I think they've only gone and reinforced that this year with 3 All-Irelands in 4 years. I think 2 national leagues in there, and obviously 3 Munster championships. I mean, that's domination right there. This tweet here is from Aaron Prendergast. Yeah, that's me. So get over there and follow me on Twitter if you haven't already. I decided I'd include this tweet in here just to maybe sneak up that follower rating. But I said, to think Limerick went 45 years without winning an All-Ireland to 3 in 4 years. John Kiley, Paul Kinnerk, JP McManus, to name a few, have done a tremendous job and prove it is possible to go from massive underdogs to serial winners in the GAA. And I suppose to expand on that point that I made there, I mean, we see all the time that a lot of counties struggle to get up to the level of other counties, and sometimes there can be a lot of finger pointing, this team has this much money and this team has this investment, or the GAA are funding this team, or this team plays in home stadiums. And obviously a lot of that is aimed towards Dublin. There's been people levelling things at Limerick in recent years as well, with JP McManus putting a lot of investment in there. But that is how you do it. You create a plan, you get the people that can help you, fulfill that plan in the best way possible, and then you go and do it. Obviously the Limerick County Board and JP McManus had a plan to pump a lot of investment into Limerick, into the academy, get the best coaches, get the best management out there. And I don't think it's been them, but I think it's also been like John Kiley, Paul Connacht, like these guys, they know hurling inside and out. They've studied this game for years. And this is a lot more than just funding or JP McManus money. I mean, it's a hard one to kind of sum up, but like to go 45 years without winning an All-Ireland and then winning 3 in 4 years, like that's incredible stuff. Because at least like with Dublin, to be fair, you know, they had a little bit of success before their 2011 All-Ireland success, and then they started to dominate. They were always kind of winning Leinster championships or thereabouts in the 2000s. Obviously, one All-Ireland in the 90s, none in the 2000s, but they were always kind of thereabouts. Limerick weren't. I mean, Limerick, I remember Dublin playing Limerick and hurling and beating them. I mean, that tells you all you need to know. I mean, Limerick, the fact that they've just gone on to do this, I think it's a combination of having those resources in terms of what JP McManus has invested in, but it's also what they've actually gone and done on the pitch, the level of coaching involved in that team, and it's also in my opinion bringing through those players, giving those players the opportunity, because they obviously had a couple of players that won an under-20 success in 2017, 2018. They were in the team. They kicked on, won the All-Ireland. And, you know, it's kind of funny. You know, I've seen a lot of comments recently about Offaly's under-20 football success, and a lot of people saying, oh, those players can't go up to senior level because, you know, we need to manage them and we need to mind them. And fair enough, there is an element of that's true. Cormac Egan, for example, has only turned 18. But I do think at the same time, like if you've got All-Ireland winners there, if you've got players that are playing in their prime, that are coming off All-Ireland success, get them straight into the team. Aaron Gallant, for example, perfect example, probably one of the best players in Limerick's 2017 under-20 success, went straight up to senior level 2018. One of the best players that year, without doubt, for Limerick in that 2018 All-Ireland success. So that's an example of it. And for me, that's, I think Paul Connacht, John Kiley. I mean, John Kiley in particular, I mean, unbelievable, like coming into a Limerick side. You know, he obviously seen Limerick be absolutely trashed by Tipperary. That was one of the main, back in, I think it was 2010, and that was one of the main reasons why he wanted to get involved with Limerick. And yeah, the job he's done, Paul Connacht as well, the level of coaching is just phenomenal, and it's breathtaking from Limerick. And look, listen, for Limerick fans, I'm sure they're loving it. I'm sure they're enjoying it, because it's been, you know, a golden era without doubt, and I don't think it's going to end anytime soon. And I suppose to back up what I was saying there as well, Colin Ryan says, just take a moment to realise we are witnessing the best coach in the modern game. He keeps a low profile, but Connacht's prints are all over that team. Best team in the business. Absolutely. You know, like what I was saying before there, the level of coaching from Paul Connacht, John Kiley, some of the other backroom management team as well. It's just extraordinary. Like they see the problems, they identify the solutions, and then imprint them on the Limerick team. And like the water breaks as well, like the way they've used them has been probably as good as anyone, and in my opinion anyway, the best. Like when you look at what they've been scoring after water breaks, and you look at how they respond when other teams kind of get a patch of momentum. I mean, you see that a lot in sport, and you see that a lot in Gaelic football hurling, where, you know, one team has the momentum, another team can't stem that influence, and, you know, one team will panic and maybe start shooting from ridiculous angles, or, you know, taking shots from sidelines and panicking. And Limerick don't do that at all. And they literally just, they see what the problems are, and they go out and fix them. And whether it's maybe a defensive issue, maybe they need to push one of their wing backs further up the pitch, maybe they need to switch some of the corner forwards around. They always seem to find those you know, solutions to those problems, and it really, really is incredible stuff. Malachy Clerkin says, one intimidating effort, also pictured Garry Hegerty. And yeah, I'll put that image on screen just to show the sheer size of Garry Hegerty. I mean, he must have the longest legs known to a man. I mean, I certainly wouldn't want to be walking down an alleyway and have Garry Hegerty in front of me late at night, because I mean, he is a monstrous man. And I mean, yeah, he just covers so much ground, and like even when he's striding with the ball, when he's moving with the ball, he looks like a mountain moving with the ball, and he must be so hard to knock off the ball, because I mean, what a player, what a talent. Colin Parkinson says, I'm from Adair, says Declan Hannon at the start of his speech, who was introduced as from the Pershik by Larry McCarthy. Yeah, I mean, Larry McCarthy probably, new GAA president, made a couple of errors. I know I didn't see any of the minor games that were on Saturday. I think the Cork and Tyrone minors and the Meath and Sligo minors, but I've heard he made a couple of errors and mistakes in that particular occasion as well, in saying players' names. I think he got the Cork captain wrong or something like that, or the Tyrone captain or something to that effect. So yeah, look, listen, he's a new president coming in there. Maybe he just needs to get the names right. He's obviously got Declan Hannon's club wrong, which is certainly when you think of a lot of club rivalries, it's not the best thing to do really. But Declan Hannon's speech in general was very, very impressive, and just what a leader, what a captain. And I think one thing that stood out for me really with Declan Hannon was when he was being substituted late on, and he just looked like he just had the biggest smile on his face that I've seen from anyone. And coming off the pitch with the people applauding him and giving him and clapping his name as he was coming off the pitch. I mean, it just shows really where Limerick are at, and it just shows how well they're doing things at the moment. Like, everything is working perfectly for Limerick, and like Declan Hannon's walking off the pitch and smiling and just delighted. They look like such a team. It looks like there's no bad eggs in that team. It doesn't look like there's going to be any players that are going to opt out or walk away from the panel or retire or anything like that. I mean, there might be one or two retirements, but generally they just all look like they're in their absolute prime, playing their best hurling and loving playing it as well. And I think that's something that's really kind of stood out for me anyways. Last but not least, we have a tweet here from Buff Egan. He says the Great Kilkenny team are the greatest team to ever play the game, and there is really no denying that. I think it's an interesting comparison, certainly, is it, between Kilkenny and Limerick. And I was having a look at it there before reading out this tweet. And Kilkenny have won 11 All-Irelands in a 16-year period between 2000 and 2015. I just don't think that will Limerick be able to do something like that? Will they be able to beat that, or something to that effect? It's such a hard one, because you'd have to say that Cork have great underage players coming through. Maybe they might catch Limerick out here or there, or maybe Galway will bring through a couple of players. I don't really know. I mean, Limerick are certainly the side to dominate over the next couple of years, but it is too early to say that they haven't achieved what Kilkenny have achieved. Kilkenny have won 11. They won 11 All-Irelands in a 16-year period. They won 4 in a row. They won 6 in a 7-year period at one stage as well. They were winning All-Irelands comfortably, like beating teams with ease, like you think of 2008 against Waterford, for example. So Limerick they're on track, but they're not there yet, and they still have a lot of work to do. But one thing that would be interesting is, imagine this Limerick team playing that Kilkenny team in their pomp. I mean, what a game that would be. What a spectacle that would be. I mean, Henry Shefflin going up against the likes of Dan Morrissey and Sean Finn, and you've got Declan Hannon worrying about DJ Carey or something like that. I mean, it would just be incredible stuff. Young TJ Reid in there as well, Eddie Brennan, Richie Hogan, players like that. It would be such an intriguing battle, and seeing maybe how the likes of Owen Larkin gets on as well. It would be so intriguing. It'd be so interesting. Tommy Walsh maybe going up against Keane Lynch or something to that effect, or Aaron Gallan. I mean, it would be unbelievable stuff. It really, really would. But look, listen, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up here anyways. Do leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. This has been all the reaction to Limerick's All-Ireland success. Their 10th All-Ireland in total, their 3rd All-Ireland in 4 years. Limerick certainly the dominating force in hurling at the moment. So if you could leave a like and subscribe, I would kindly appreciate it. My name is Aaron, and I'll see you all on the next one.